Welcome to all our textile colleagues, both here in Rhode Island and also around the country. And I think we may even have a couple folks from other countries joining us today. So thank you all for being here today. From the beginning, one of RITIN's goals has been to foster collaboration between our world-class universities and our world-class textile companies. And today we'll learn a bit about how that collaboration actually works in the real world. We have two great guests today. Our first guest began his career in the UK textile industry before coming to the States and joining the academic world. First at UMass Dartmouth, then at URI, where he teaches courses in textile science. He spearheaded the development of the URI Textile Lab and has consulted with local industry on a wide range of projects. Please welcome Dr. Martin Bide. Joining Martin today as our second guest is the president of a company that lives on the cutting edge of technology textiles, Propel LLC. And her focus has been on creating innovative textile-based solutions from fiber to complete systems for the military. She's also the recipient of the 2020 IFF Innovation Award, which is awarded yearly by the Industrial Fabrics Association International for designing the U.S. Navy's Smart Shirt. More on that exciting news a little later in the presentation, but for now, please welcome Clare King. Welcome, Clare.
Hi.
So we'll begin with Martin, but before we begin the presentation, I just want to note that if anyone has any questions for our presenters, please just make click on the chat button at the bottom of your screen and type that question in. Martin, please begin by telling us about the Textile Lab at URI. And how does that facilitate collaboration with textile companies here in Rhode Island?
With the Department of Textiles, we teach fashion merchandising and design, but we think it's important that our know about the technical side of textiles. So we have the lab. Its main job is teaching undergrads. We also teach graduate students and we do research. So that's why it's set up. But in doing those teaching and research jobs, we have a lot of equipment in place. And we're happy to use it and our knowledge and expertise to collaborate with industry. We help them, they help us. It's a win-win both in situation. Yeah.
And do companies typically contact you, Martin? Like, how does that relationship develop to begin with?
It's a networking thing, and you know, I've been a lot of people, and I'm just looking around the names in this meeting today, and there's a lot of familiar ones, and good to see some of these people. Yeah, it's a networking thing. You know, it's trying to get the word out that we're here, and it works in all kinds of ways. I mean, as well as just doing the textile testing kind of work, it's also working for our students, and you know, finding them places to do internships, finding them careers when they graduate. Again, it's a multifaceted kind of collaboration. It works in all kinds of ways.
Great. Well, so what type of equipment, you mentioned testing, so what type of equipment do you have in the lab?
Well, we like to teach our undergrads, again, even if they're going to be merchandisers, that they need to be able to read a spec sheet and understand if a garment's going to fail. So we have pretty much all the standard, you know, testing for that kind of thing. You know, the tensile, tear, abrasion, burst strength stuff, the color fastness to light, launderings, perspiration, all those things, the color measurement, instrumentation. Then we have lab scale dye application and finish application equipment. Again, spectros to measure color and do color match prediction, those kinds of things. A lot of these things just, you know, we acquire them just to do a project, and they're there for future use.
So when you're working on a project for a textile company, are students involved in the actual testing process?
Whenever possible, yeah, it's a great learning opportunity for them. You know, if it's suitable, and we sort of trust what they're doing, yeah, they'll get involved with that. They can earn credit as an extra credit kind of course. You can just build the course just to help them run through the project.
That must be a great experience for the students, that hands-on work. Can you tell me where the money comes from? So you've got a lot of equipment there.
Yeah.
So how do you pay for all that equipment?
We're rolling in money. We just
like most university textile departments, you're just rolling in money.
It's I won't say it's a struggle, but it's a challenge sometimes. students pay lab fees, above and beyond their tuition money, they pay lab fees. So that is a trickle of money that comes in. Sometimes we get research grants that include money for equipment. We do this collaborative work, and we necessarily charge fees, not huge ones, but we charge fees to do that work. So we have a minor income stream, a pretty steady income stream. But we're not going to go out and buy, brand new big equipment. Sometimes we get some very kind donations from industry, both new equipment and used equipment. Or we can go out on the secondhand market and buy machines. Sadly, there's a lot of that around, but it's a very economical way to keep our lab pretty well equipped. And my job is probably not officially in my job description, but I become the maintenance guy. I'm sort of keeping these things oiled and working well.
So it must be a challenge, I would think, to keep that equipment up to date, because things in the textile world change so quickly.
Yeah, a lot of the tests are pretty standard, and we can keep going. If it's critical, again, we enjoy this collaboration. If we don't have a piece of equipment and we need it, and we need to get some results for a research project, industry's been great to us. If they have the nice equipment in their labs, they're usually pretty happy to let us come and use it. So it does. Again, it works both ways.
That being said, I'm sure you must have some sort of wish list.
Yes, most of it is sort of replacing old things with newer things. So we could probably get a new color measurement spectro, and we actually are in the middle of buying a new tensile tester. The old one finally was one of the first things that we bought when I got to URI, and it's finally given up the ghost. So we're going to get a new one of those soon, I hope. But, yep.
Do companies ever call you up and say, can you do X, Y, or Z kind of test? And you have to say, well, I'm sorry, we just don't have the equipment for that.
Yeah, and that happens. And of course, there are professional testing companies out there. So yeah, I don't think we can be all things to all people. We'll do our best. And again, using those contacts we have with industry, we can usually find someone who will do that test. Yeah.
Okay. And I understand you're going to be retiring soon. So big change in your life coming forward. How's the URI going to replace your level of experience? I mean, you've been doing this for years. Not too many years, but a lot of years.
I know, and this, you hear the athlete. I want to go out while I'm still capable of doing a decent job. Before it becomes too hard work. We are actually in the middle of interviewing for the person who's going to replace me. Our URI was smart enough, and we made a good enough case that this is not something they should not replace or not delay in replacing. So we have some interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks for people who might be able to replace me. And I'm not going to, walk away into the sunset. I'm going to help them get established, and I hope make some introductions to a lot of the people who are here today, and hope those collaborations can continue.
Do you think that having a strong textile lab at URI helps to recruit great textile professors?
Yes, I think we work very well as a team, and I think one of the strengths for our undergraduate education is that our students do actually go out and bring some technical knowledge with them, that other fashion schools don't have. So I think it gives our students a leg up, and I think that's again what we're hoping for my replacement to be able to continue to instill this technical textile knowledge in our graduates.
Well, thank you, Martin. And Clare King from Propel, President of Propel. Clare, question for you. You've done some work in the past with the URI Textile Lab. Is that true?
Yes. We've on several, Propel's had several small business innovation research grants from the Department of Defense. And in these, we've been investigating, developing new innovations. And I've known Martin a long time and was fully aware of the capabilities, both intellectual, I should say, as well as the actual physical equipment. And those two go together, which is why we've worked with URI over the years on our various projects. So some of it is more formal. We know from the beginning of the project we want to do a statement of work with them. Others, we run into something in a project and we'll come to Dr. Bide or to someone else in the department and say, hey, this is showing up. Got any thoughts? And then we'll experiment in the lab to see what's really happening. And that's been invaluable to us as a company. And just that back and forth and knowing that we can pick up the phone and then we can initiate a work if needed has been great.
Well, Propel historically has been focused on advanced and smart textiles, but how did you originally become involved in that?
You know, I was thinking about this. I was wondering if it was making those doll clothes when I was like 10 that really started me, because I remember trying to match velvet with fur. And that was a challenge. And this was real fur. I don't know where I got it from. And so my interest in textiles goes back a long way in making things, creating things. And what better place to do it but when you're trying to make something new? So really in my career, I think that happened about mid-career, where I began to realize, hey, I don't have to take the solutions that are out there to make a textile product or etc. We can actually try and make something new. So that's really, it's just curiosity.
It's also fascinating to me that you made a leap from an initial interest in, or sounded more like a fashion interest, to now you're involved in some very complex technical products.
Yeah, I think that happened really because earlier in my career, I was mostly involved in the outdoor industry, and the outdoor industry was the leading edge for a lot of technical innovations for waterproof breathable fabrics and protective fabrics. And then from there, it was a natural step to working in things like the fire service and the military. It was just like, okay, how far can we take this? And we continue to do that today as well. I mean, we're currently writing a proposal right now for developing a new heated boot for NavAir and Air Force. And that is a complete intersection of electronics and textiles. And but we have to have the knowledge in both camps and then find those experts, including at universities, who will help fill in the gaps to make the project real.
Speaking of experts, I've had the pleasure to meet a couple of bright young people that work with you, and you have a history, I think, of hiring students from textile programs at universities. So yes. Why is that important? Does that make it easier for them to hit the ground running?
Yes, no question. I think one of the things about URI, and Martin touched on this, is the practicality of the students that come out of URI. They're very well-versed in industry approaches already because they're taught by professors who believe that they should have that approach. And they understand, as he said, the fashion. And I wouldn't say there isn't fashion in my business. You want to make something that people want to wear. And then the technical. And universities, our US universities, whether it's URI or we've got NCSU or Drexel, have all got, and there are others I'm missing, which I apologize to you if you're on the line. We're turning out some excellent students, and they've got this great grounding that then you can really move forward with. My employees teach me as much as I'm ever going to teach them, and that's the way I want it to be.
So they're learning things in their programs, in their textile programs at URI, for example, that they're introducing those things to you.
Yeah, I mean, one of my employees has been with me for several years now, and she joined me out of URI when she was just immediately graduated, then left and worked in industry and came back. You know, her depth of knowledge of things like dyeing, and I know that she started in Dr. Bide's classes with that. So that's very helpful to us.
You talked a little bit earlier about how Propel has interacted with the textile lab at URI. Can you be more specific? Or were there specific tests that were important to you, or certain projects that were also, where the collaboration was very important?
Yeah, it really goes back to our first SBIR, which was on looking at replacing needle and thread with stitchless technologies. And
Excuse me, Claire, for the audience, can you please explain what an SBIR is?
Small Business Innovation Research Grant. So this is a form of funding from the Department of Defense, although there are other branches of the government that give it out too, where you're researching from a very early stage to solve a problem that the Department of Defense has defined. So in that one, the Navy was interested to know, could they make gear lighter and more packable if we took needle and thread out, and what the trade-offs would be. So we actually ended up building, I don't know, hundreds of seams and comparing them and looking at the different characteristics. Dr. Bide helped us establish a new test that we did within that. And then we spent, hours in the lab, Martin, looking at the Instron machine and watching it and seeing what was happening. And that was really key, because you can send something to a test lab and you get a point of data. You sit in a lab at a university with people who've got years of knowledge, and you watch what the technology is doing as it's being tested, and you get different levels of understanding. So URI's participation in that, and we had a graduate student working for quite a bit of her time on that, so it helped fund her graduate studies. That was key to our success in that project. And I'm starting, that project finished in 2015 formally, but we've had follow-on work, and we continue to do follow-on work with it.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations, by the way, on your recent award from IFAI on developing that Navy Smart Shirt. Are you at liberty to tell us a little bit about that product and how you developed it and why you developed it?
And again, it was under the Small Business Innovation Research Grant Program. And the question that the Navy had, it was a little more longer, but it basically was, why do smart textiles not exist? Everybody's been talking about them for 20 years. And everything is still just basically glued onto a textile. There isn't a textile where the power and data capability is inside the textile. So we went about looking at that problem and then determining what the gaps were and then developing to those gaps. So we developed our own electrically enabled yarn that was knittable and that could carry data and power and is insulated. So, and then we had to figure out how to connect it to other, how to knit it into a circuit, and then how to connect that circuit up to, say, a printed circuit board and make it all feel like a garment. I can sort of talk about it in a little more detail because our patent applications have now published. So I'm getting a lot of interesting calls as a result. So that project was really the on the cutting edge between textiles and electrical engineering. And we think that we're now doing a number of commercial projects, which I can't talk about because I'm under NDAs, but we're open now to working with others to develop products for them. So we see it as what I would call an ingredient technology. I'm not interested in making a product and selling it and branding it, but I'm interested in the people who want to make products, and our technology can help them make it better. The shirt is what the Navy wanted, and they're actually about to do the human subject testing on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It was delayed for a year because of COVID, so we're pretty excited about that. That's what they want, is the shirt. But the technology can be used to make lots of things.
Fantastic. Well, you've generously decided to donate $5,000, which was the award prize from the Industrial Fabrics Association International, to support the teaching and research at the Textile Lab at URI. And first, thank you for that. I'm sure the folks at URI, thank you for that. But I think the textile companies here in Rhode Island in general, thank you for that, because it's going to help all of us at some point.
Yep.
But I also understand that you're not leaving it at that, and you have a challenge for all of us here today.
Yeah, URI, when we got this award, I regarded it as a bonus. I honestly didn't know it came with a cash prize. And it was like, this is crazy. It's quite enough to get the honor. So there was no question that URI is an important educational resource for the textile companies in Rhode Island, and frankly, across the globe. And so I decided we would donate it, and that I'm now challenging everybody else in our industry that if they give, for every $2 they give, I will give another $1 up to another $5,000. So I'm hoping that we can raise $10,000 to match to the $5,000 I've already given, and then I'll kick in another $5,000. So, and I don't care if you send a $10 check, and nothing is too small. Of course, if you want to send a bigger check, that's great.
So if I send in a $500 check, you'll match that with $250.
Exactly. Right.
That's
Exactly.
fantastic. So everybody out there, you heard the challenge. So let's talk a little bit about, I want to explain how to donate. There's a specific way to do this to make sure that it gets related to this challenge. So you want to make a gift to the Textile Science Support Fund and do it in the form of a check. So the checks need to be made out to the University of Rhode Island Foundation and Alumni Engagement. Boy, that's a long thing there, and I know Miguel's got a slide that he's going to show you, but so checks can be made out to the University of Rhode Island Foundation and Alumni Engagement. And it's very important that in the memo line, you write TMD Department's Textile Science Support Fund. And this information will be on the RITIN website afterwards, so don't feel as though you have to write it all down. And checks, they prefer checks, and they can be mailed to the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement, P.O. Box 1700, Kingston, Rhode Island, 02881. And we're open for questions now. So Martin or Claire, is there anything you wanted to say before we have a few questions come in?
I just like to say thank you to Martin. I hope we don't lose touch in retirement. I think he's just been so influential in the industry, and it is sad to see retirement, but I'm also happy for him that he gets to go work in his garden and do the things he's passionate about.
Well, and I'd like to thank Claire for her great generosity in putting this money forward. It's really going to help whoever replaces me.
All right, thank you both. Miguel, do we have any questions?
I think we may have one question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, I was just going to get to that. We have Hassan who wants to ask a question to Claire. So Hassan.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thank you so much. So thanks, Claire. What you said was very encouraging. And I have one quick question. So in the form of SBIR, have you thought or have you been working with something like STTR where you work with university and the split the work with the people who are expert in one field, maybe in testing or doing something in a university, and then get funding for both, like university do 40 or 60% and the company do 40 or 60%, you know? And
yeah,
then,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, to answer, no, sorry, not to interrupt, but STTR, so just for everyone who's listening, STTR is another form of SBIR. So this is a pool of money. It's quite substantial. You can look up DOD, SBIR, STTR, and you'll get lots of information. The Small Business Administration has an excellent series of slides on SBIRs and STTRs. But the difference is with that STTRs is that there has to be a non-profit, usually university, it can be a federally financed research lab, that has to be at least 30% of the effort as measured in dollars. We haven't done an STTR just because it's never come up as a subject. And but we've been approached, but it hasn't been the right topic for us. Most of what we've done is SBIRs, where we're the prime, and then we integrate a university as a subcontractor within it. But we're open to it. We're always open to talking to anyone. I'm always, my door is open if people want to contact me.
Great. Thank you so much.
Miguel, another question?
Yes, we have Randy Orston.
Congratulations, Martin. I can remember we both had hair and it was all dark colored. So it's been a long time. It's great. Congratulations for you. This is for both Claire and Martin. The future is definitely pointing towards smart textiles. And I know, Claire, you're quite involved with that. And Martin, my question is there any smart textile component to the curriculum at URI Textiles, or is it something that's going to be added to it going forward?
I don't want to get too deeply into how universities function, but change at universities is slow. So we tend to do things in a stealthy kind of way. We have these courses maybe called textile science, and it organically changes over the years. So if smart textiles pop up on the horizon, somehow we drop how to make a buggy whip, and we add in, here's how to do smart textiles.
Right.
So yeah, rather than sort of just invent a course and then try and have this huge chunk of stuff called smart textiles, it kind of seeps in, and yes, so it's sort of working its way in there slowly, by me and by probably 2 or 3 other people on our faculty.
Right, and Claire, you mentioned that you do a lot of work with electronics and smart textiles and things like that, and so the young people that you're hiring obviously have some form of textile background, but are you also looking for electrical engineers, physical engineers? God knows what the next engineering form may be that would fit with smart textiles. Is that the type of people you're looking for?
Right now, the level of work we have, say, for the electrical side, isn't enough for me to have an electrical engineer on staff full time. So we've got a lot of independent contractors. We're actually a fairly small, we're only a 5-person team, and we constantly discuss, should we add to the team? But we find that each project we end up using from a selection of people that we've worked with over the years, independent contractors, and that works very well. But it tends to be from the same group. But we're always, this morning I was just talking to a company in Cambridge that also does a lot of SBIRs, and they'll be our electrical engineering component on one of our projects, for example. So we collaborate. And I actually think that this goes a little bit to the question to Martin about, and I know that Carl Asplund is on the line too, the smart textiles crosses between textiles and electrical engineering, and then it crosses into physiology, it crosses into all kinds of other aspects. So it's a great opportunity for departments to collaborate. And so you see students that go and take a course that might interest them, but it may not be directly their major, but it's going to help them get to where they want to go. It's what I've seen in people's resumes.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Any other questions, Miguel?
As of now, there are no other questions.
All right. Well, we're coming up on 12:30. So I want to thank everyone again for attending. Special thanks to Martin, and congratulations, Martin, on your retirement. Congratulations to Claire on your award. And thank you so much for your generous donation that's going to help textile companies in Rhode Island, and certainly the students at URI and the faculty at URI. Very generous. Thank you. And stay tuned. We'll be back in touch, textile companies. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.